Now, were you at a traditional school
Yes.
before? So you
Yes.
actually do remember what like
Oh,
traditional teaching world is like. Okay, so
Yeah.
you were saying that like here they don't teach you, they kind of guide you. Tell me the difference. Like let's
Yeah.
start with what's like traditional school. What was that like for you?
Traditional school feels like prison. It's like you're sat down on a desk and
Uh-huh.
a teacher is on a chalkboard just teaching you, and you have to stick there and wait for everybody to learn it before you can move on, even if I knew the topic much earlier
Yeah,
than
and
the
you're a
rest.
pretty sharp kid. You're very advanced. So
Thank
you
you.
were probably sitting in traditional school bored. How'd you feel?
It's kind of annoying because you know your potential and you want to use that potential in the future and like kind of learn as fast as you can.
Did you have like a favorite teacher at your old traditional school?
Yes, I
You
did.
did. Great.
Yeah.
So you can think of a teacher that you're like, this person was great.
Yes.
Did you have any bad teachers while you were in your probably not that long
Majority.
career? The majority.
Welcome to the Future of Education podcast, hosted by MacKenzie Price. MacKenzie is the founder of a revolutionary new school model that's disrupting education through AI. Join us as we discuss the latest in education innovation.
I'm going to start by a very dramatic reading by MacKenzie Price here on the Future of Education. Think about your favorite teacher growing up. I'm sure you are flooded with happy memories and impactful learning experiences. How that certain teacher made a positive impact on your learning and, more importantly, your life. Now, think about your least favorite teacher, Mrs. Tremont, 7th grade Spanish teacher. The teacher that seemed to have it out for you. She definitely did have it out for me. Or maybe had it out for everybody. The teacher that didn't want to be there and seemed miserable. Unfortunately, both types of teachers exist. And let's be real, teachers have a very, very difficult job. And in today's educational climate, teachers seem to be blamed for all of the problems in our schools. And just for the record, I do not fall into that category. But the goal in all of our schools that I founded is for every single teacher, we call them guides, to have that favorite teacher energy. But how do we accomplish that? That's our topic for today. How we here at the Future of Education are creating Teachers 2.0. Today, I have one of our guides, Bryan, and one of his students, Eddy, a 12-year-old in the 6th grade. Welcome, Bryan and Eddy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So I've been excited to have this conversation because I really think like that relationship between our guides and our students is one, something that we work super hard to cultivate, but two, it's so special, right? And my kids have gone through the Alpha system, and the connections they've had with their guides over the years have been amazing. And I'll tell you where that really has been noticeable for us is when they're getting into like college application process, and they weren't like, oh, I need a letter of recommendation from a teacher I had, sophomore year. It's like these people have known them for years, and that connection is there. So let's talk a little bit about that. Actually, first, Eddy, I'm going to go to you. Tell me about that guide connection.
Well, yeah, just having a connection with your guide is so important. And here at Alpha, I think they've really dialed that down. And guides kind of serve more as somebody that guides you instead of teaches you.
Mm-hmm.
They help you learn, like by showing you the steps, but they don't do any work for you.
Now, were you at a traditional school
Yes.
before? So you
Yes.
actually do remember what like traditional teaching world is like. Okay, so
Yeah.
you were saying that like here they don't teach you, they kind of guide you. Tell me the difference. Like let's start with what's like traditional school. What was that like for you?
Traditional school feels like prison. It's like you're sat down on a desk and a teacher is on a chalkboard just teaching you, and you have to stick there and wait for everybody to learn it before you can move on, even if I knew the topic much earlier.
Yeah,
than
and
the
you're
rest.
a pretty sharp kid. You're very advanced.
Thank
So you
you.
were probably sitting in traditional school bored. How'd you feel?
It's kind of annoying because you know your potential and you want to use that potential in the future and like kind of learn as fast as you can. But in the traditional school, it's not as easy as you think because you have to wait the whole year before moving on, and it's not like you can just skip ahead everybody so easily and quickly but in Alpha, with a simple test, you can just skip ahead and go to the next grade.
Okay, so you love that academic,
that,
like
yeah.
learning at your own pace.
Yes.
You love that part of it. That's pretty cool. Let's talk a little bit more. Well, first of all, you heard me read that very dramatic introduction. Did you have like a favorite teacher at your old traditional school?
Yes, I
You
did.
did. Great.
Yeah.
So you can think of a teacher that you're like, this person was great.
Yes.
Did you have any bad teachers while you were in your probably not that long
Majority.
career? The majority.
Yes.
You know, that's one of the really interesting things about when we think about great teachers. Like, I think every one of us can think of a few teachers that were like, this person was awesome. But then I can think of a lot of teachers that were not great. What about you, Brian? Did you have a favorite teacher growing up?
One out
One?
of like, yeah, you know, Eddy, we were talking about this before, there's a couple I remember from like my 5th grade teacher and then one in 10th grade. But coming from that public education system, it was more of like, they didn't understand me. I didn't understand them. And I just kind of got through as time went on. So it wasn't a great experience, but I had there was like that one teacher. He was just like, we connected and he was the guy. And I'm like.
So when you connected with that teacher, was it over the subject that he was teaching?
No.
Or was it?
It was not the subject.
connection,
It was personality. Like, when we do these things, we don't teach them anything, right? So it's we connect over, like Eddy and I really connected over entrepreneurship and the food truck that we've been doing. So it's like, that's where him and I have connected. And he connects with Phil, his guide on the other academic pieces of his day. But so it's like, you can just connect with a person and not the subject.
Well, and actually, that's one thing. Maybe Eddy, you can explain for people. We group our schools kind of by levels. So 5th and 6th grade, you've been in this level for a couple years with 5th and 6th grade.
L3.
Yeah, baby, you're going to be down at this building a lot. This is exciting. We have a different campus for our 7th through 12th grade. So Eddy's going to be matriculating up into the big leagues. It'll be there. But you have more than one guide that you're interacting with, right? So it's kind of a group situation. You've met several guides, right?
Yes. Well, we have technically we have 5, but with Aiden we have 6 now.
Aiden, we have 6 now.
Yeah. It's really cool to see everybody's different personality, and just instead of having like 2 teachers, you're kind of used to the same things. With different guides, you have like different hobbies, different personalities, and you get to connect with those people in a really cool way. And I think these guides.
We've actually had the debate about whether we should call our guides teachers.
What do you think
or not?
about
what do you
that?
think?
Yeah.
So when I first joined Alpha, the idea of guides wasn't my favorite.
Really?
Because school is something you're supposed to learn and somebody's supposed to teach you.
Okay.
But as time went on, you realize that once you finish school, you're not going to have a teacher. And what guides here teach us is they're teaching you how to learn for yourself. A long time ago, we had a workshop called Learn to Learn.
Learn to learn. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me what's learn to learn.
So Learn to Learn is, the name kind of explains it, but you learn how to learn. So you're finding the resources out in the internet, watching videos, learning how to research, and just kind of putting the pieces together and making yourself understand how to learn this. But the guides were there to guide us and help us understand how we can use our resources to help us learn.
Yeah, that's one of the things, like you go into our 2nd grade classroom and I love that it'll say like, here's the steps if you're struggling with something. And there are quite a few steps that you would think the average, 7, 8-year-old is not doing. But it's around, again, that skill of like teaching kids that they have the ability to go learn anything they want to put their minds to.
Well, guides are better because they help you understand. They don't teach you it right away. If you have a question, they won't give your answer immediately. They're going to help you how to problem solve and use your critical thinking to help you understand that subject.
So let's talk about this. Let's say you're in the middle of one of your core skills, which we do our 2-hour learning in the morning. You're doing all of your learning on adaptive apps.
Yes.
But let's say you're struggling with something. Like what role does the guide come there?
Yeah, so the guides are also really important. Just because they're guides, it doesn't mean they don't help you. So they help you like understand, jot down notes, but they will make you understand it, not just help you and give you the answer and just like give you the.
Would you say guide you to how to do the problem?
Wow.
We had that we actually had that this morning. You were working on a schedule. I was like, okay, did we look at the video? And he was like, well, not yet. And then we went back down the video. I was like, all right, so now we got to take notes on it. And then just helping him through that process, just like holding the line, and then you're doing it yourself. We're not helping you in any which way, but it's just like
And
It's those healthy reminders of like, hey, this is what you have to do. You just have to go through the
yeah,
process.
and that brings me to my next thing where on Dash, we have this thing called book a coaching call.
Okay.
So you can connect to a coaching call from someone remote, and you will share your screen, and they will teach you how to do this skill
Okay.
from a remote place.
So you can get like a one-to-one tutoring
Yes,
experience
yes.
from a person if you're struggling and you're
Yes.
like, I've watched the videos,
Yeah.
I've read the explanations,
If
I've
you're-
looked for
if
more
you're-
information, and then you have the ability to do a coaching call.
Yes, if you are stuck, coaching call is always there for you.
So this, just to give you guys some background, this is a member of our academic team. They're not on site on the school, but you can do an interactive session
Yes.
with a member of our academic team who will kind of go. And so, the whole beauty, I think, of our model is, again, it is one-to-one personalized learning. And for so much of that, we're using technology. But you know what? Sometimes humans sitting down
Yeah.
one-to-one is super helpful to get you to understand. How often would you say you book coaching calls?
Well, coaching calls are important, but you also don't want to get used to rely on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I only book them once so often because
Not very often.
not
You're
very
using
often
them.
because if you rely on them, that you kind of get into a loophole, which isn't the best thing.
Yeah. So, Brian, you're a guide. You've been with us for 4 years?
2.5.
Two and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost 3.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, almost 3 years. What was your background? Were you a teacher before?
I was not a teacher. My background is in personal training and fitness, so nothing to do with education. But you can
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
you
You
can
could
say I was
argue.
educating
Yeah,
others on,
you're
on
totally-
fitness. Yeah, no. So I've been doing that for 18 years, and I still have remote clients that I work with today. But where this desire to coach was or at least come to Alpha, was to do more. I've been a coach for as long as I could remember, and that next evolution of coaching came later on in life. I was 33 when I decided to go back to school. I got my degree in psychology, and all these things of like, I want to do more than just coach fitness, really came to a head when I had my daughter. I was like, okay, I started thinking about her education and her future and what that looks like. And I had a terrible time growing up in like the public education system. And I was like, if I can be a part of that change in some way, shape, or form, I want to do it. And then as I finish up my master's degree, I go and I see a job application for Alpha, and I was like, I could do this. This is coaching at the next level of
It
coaching.
totally
And
is.
I'm like, this actually impacts the future of education for not just younger kids, but my daughter. And
Yeah. What's the biggest difference between coaching the adults that you would do in your fitness training and coaching young people?
They're very parallel, kind of. I would say that obviously there's different stages of life where they're dealing with things, but it's the same thing. It's like adults struggle with things. It's like meeting them where they're at. So I always see it as like, my goal is to see where you are, see where you want to go, and then I'm here to help you get through that in between piece. I'm the person, or as we call it, guide, to help get you there. And I can't lift the weights for them. I can't do the math problems for them. I can't give them the right food, but I can coach them and be that hard line that's going to make sure that they're successful. And it works. It's like when the people follow that coaching and follow those guidelines, and I'm there to support them and communicate with them, the results speak for themselves. And the same with the kids.
Well, if you could lift the weights for me, I would absolutely hire you. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But no, I get it. You really are helping these kids become independent and become self-driven learners. So let's talk a little bit about like the process. When you have a new student who comes to the school, how do you start connecting and building that relationship and interaction, and where does that lead?
Well, so, when they come to the school as guides, we typically communicate like, hey, let's get to know the student at a whole level. So all the guides get to know that one student. And then we're like, where's the best fit? Because that matters, right?
Where's the best fit in terms of
as far as like personality goes, right? Which
you mean
coach
for which guide should
would
be their lead guide?
Yeah, which one would make the most sense for them, right? Because if there's someone that's super into sports and we have a guide that's not super into sports, that can cause some clash, and then that blunts the progress.
So we think about like interests and hobbies and
we
things
want that to
that
be matched. It doesn't have to
like
be
to talk about.
perfect, and sometimes honestly the opposite helps that kid grow even more. It's like they get to see the things outside of that spectrum of that. But
Getting out of your comfort zone.
yeah, getting out of your comfort zone. And I think that once we get to know the kid, we'll have like limitless lunches with them. We do our limitless meetings.
Let's talk about what's a limitless lunch.
Yeah, you
Eddie.
go.
What's a
Limitless
limitless
lunch.
The best part of the session, right?
I think those are really cool because you get a catered lunch, which is
Catered
very
lunch,
tasty.
very cool. What do you get? Like Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Something?
Anything you want. So
Anything you want? What have you asked for? What was the last thing you had at your limitless lunch?
sushi.
Sushi.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, but you just get to talk about your life, how score skills. We try to avoid work so we can just kind of like connect to each other and not kind of just stress, kind of like put it away and just connect to each other.
It's hard not to talk
Yeah.
about school because it's like
It's-
that's
yeah,
where we're
yeah.
at. But like that's our goal. It
Yeah.
honestly is like, hey, what's your vacation? What's summer
Yeah.
vacation look like coming up for you? What are you doing this weekend? Or like, what do you have going on? It's
How's your
just-
hobby going?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of research that says if a young person just knows there's one person
Yeah.
that's in their corner that's there supporting them, it makes a huge difference in their
Super
trajectory
important.
of their life. And that's really the goal, that we want our
Yeah.
guides to build that connection with a student where they're like their coach,
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's like, Eddie, you could probably agree with this, and whether it be, me in our workshop or with Phil or any of the other guys, it's like, sometimes it's like, just like in my personal training moments, you don't really like us in the moment, but we coach through and we figure out, you understand at this point, it's like, we're doing this for your benefit and you see the value in doing the hard work. And, we're
Have
still
you
there.
had that, Eddie? Have you had
Yeah.
those?
been-
Describe one of those experiences.
Well, my guide, Phil, he's really nice. He's a great guy. He's taught me a lot. Great guide in general. All the guides are really nice and really smart. But when I'm doing work, he's always putting me on the spotlight and telling me, did I do notes? Did I watch the video? Kind of like Brian did. But it's really important. You just don't get it. But in that moment, you're frustrated and you just want to keep going. But sometimes you got to take a step back, open the picture up, and see what you're like. See the whole picture.
Yeah.
Not just focus on the details.
Well, and when we talk about academics, so you're a sixth grader.
Yes.
Are you ahead in your academics? Are
Yeah.
you at grade level? What are you at in each of your subjects
I am on grade level and above.
and above
yes.
in all your subjects? So, so you're like, your core skills time is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
You are definitely working your brain, and your guides and your coaches are kind of helping you understand, like, here's the steps you take to really take advantage of your learning.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sometimes it's not the answer you want to hear, but it's
Yeah.
the answer. It's the answer, yeah.
Okay, so the two of you guys have had a pretty big bonding experience this year.
Yeah.
We had a goal this year, Brian. Tell what the goal was this year for our 5th and 6th graders.
So our goal is to teach financial literacy and entrepreneurship through a fun and exciting mechanism. And at the beginning of the year, we decided it was going to be a food truck.
We're in Austin, Texas.
Food
Lot
truck
of food
capital,
truck. Yep.
I'd say arguably food truck capital of the United States.
Totally.
There might be some controversy on that, but I don't know. But we had to build it. We had to scaffold this appropriately. Like, right? I
Yeah.
think base level knowledge is like, how do you build this workshop over the course of a year? Teach financial literacy, which on paper, if you're like, you're learning financial literacy today, it's like, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
It's like, how
I
can we do this
remember-
in a fun way?
Okay,
But
so you introduced
Yeah.
this workshop because Brian, one of our the guide's job besides motivational emotional connection is we're teaching life skills because
Yeah.
we
Yes.
we only have to do a couple hours of academics in the morning, so the rest of the day we're all about life skill development, and our guides are the ones facilitating and building these workshops.
Yeah.
So you were kind of like, you're in charge of,
Brainchild,
we're going to
yeah.
launch a food truck this year, and do you, Eddie, get to choose to be a part of that workshop?
Yeah.
And what drew you to this idea of a food truck?
Well, I've been cooking since I was little, and
Really?
yeah, and it just kind of fascinates me how like you can start from zero and make something so tasty and like put a smile on your face.
Amazing. So
But-
you kind of like the idea of
Yeah.
food and that prep, but you had to start, the food
Yeah.
truck wasn't there at the time. So Grillonomics was the first session workshop, which is
Yeah.
about 6 weeks. What was Grillonomics?
Realonomics was just a cooking workshop, but with the life skill of financial literacy.
So,
Okay. How'd you learn that?
Yeah, I think the overarching theme was learning the value of a dollar.
Yes, the
right?
value of a dollar,
So
yeah.
you can even explain the time we went to the grocery store.
Randall's.
Yeah, you wanna tell them about that story?
Well, that, it took us a while to get there.
Was it 20 minutes and $20 I gave you
Yeah.
guys? So they didn't know what they were gonna make. I was like, hey, we're gonna cook whatever you guys want to cook, but here's your budget and here's your time. So they had to go through and compare and contrast like the bread cost versus the meat cost, and like we can't afford this. It was like supermarket.
Were you
sweep.
working in a team to spend this $20 in 20 minutes?
It was groups of two. Somebody made avocado toast. Somebody attempted to make eggs Benedicts, but
wow, that's a pretty ambitious thing for $20 in 20 minutes. Now, I think I remember hearing a story from when you guys did that little field trip to the grocery store that you had like some adults who came up and were asking you guys like, "What are you doing out of school? What's going on? What was happening?"
They were confused and impressed. They were kind of shocked to see us so well behaved and like finding our own food. But they were just kind of shocked, and they were trying to like find out what was going on, and they just wanted to learn more about the workshop and Alpha in general.
No way! Wow.
Yeah.
So
I think the line at the checkout counter was like, "Shouldn't they be in school?" And my retort was, "This is school, right? So this is what we're doing. We are doing. This is what school should be." So
wow. That's interesting. Okay, so first session, you're learning about cooking.
Yes.
And you're also learning some financial literacy.
Yes.
Did you start working on like the actual planning for a food truck at this point or no?
No.
we
far.
Yeah, this was one of those ones that like we needed to see who was bought into the
sight.
process and like and who wanted to
we
know the value of a dollar, but just really discovering the passion for it. And I think that's kind of why in session 1 I was like, I want to get that passion built around it so I can carry this through an entire year workshop.
Yeah, because
right?
that takes grit and perseverance to go through a 9-month workshop. Yeah. So pretty early on, did Eddy emerge as a passionate foodie? Or
not just in my eyes, but even with his peers. Like I would say, so the second session we got into like, what do we want to call a workshop? Like, design menu.
Yeah.
And then even towards the end of second session, we were like, hey, we were starting to have jobs, and everybody pointed at Eddy, like, Eddy needs to be the head chef Eddy. Awesome. And it's like, they just knew that like his passion around it was going to be that kind of beacon. I'm there to set the guidelines, and they were working together as a team, and I gave them a job to do, and they looked to Eddy regularly for answers, and so he was voted in as their head chef.
You were voted as head chef? Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to MacKenzie Price and the Future of Education podcast. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is the time to do it, so you can stay up to date on all our episodes. You can connect with MacKenzie on social media and be part of our daily conversation over on Instagram at futureof_education. For more info about the show and our guests, you can always visit futureofeducationpod.com. Lastly, if you're loving what you're learning, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back in your feed soon, but until then, remember, kids are limitless, and it's our job to unlock their potential. That wraps up part 1 of this episode, but don't worry, there's a part 2 coming soon.